Well,
I mean, I think Charles has put up a good start. It remains entirely to be seen how it goes. But what I'd like to do, I'd like to give a bigger answer.
Okay.
That is, because I don't want to act as a prophet. I think much more sensible is to deploy the kind of historical sensitivity that I've been doing so far. If you want a sort of big story, which I think we would both like, a big story out of the last 10 days, I think the big story is that there are two ways in which societies become modern. There is the British way in which we reform. That's to say, no conservative believes in keeping things just as they are. They are called reactionaries or fascists. What any sensible conservative, and Disraeli is the one who expresses it best, the man who really creates the modern Conservative Party, is, I mean, what he says is, Britain is a progressive country. Change will happen. The issue is how change happens. And what Disraeli says is, change in a country like Britain should happen in accordance with native custom, not in accordance with the principles of abstract liberalism. Because there are two ways of doing it. There is this British way in which you keep tradition, a certain sense of deference, ancient institutions. Remember, Parliament is almost as old as the monarchy. We forget this. I mean, Charles himself again understood it very clearly. He said, I know I'm part of a parliamentary monarchy. The origins of Parliament go back to the reign of Edward I. They are just a little bit younger than Westminster Hall. Westminster Hall is built about 1100, and the origins of Parliament begin about 1250, right? Not bad. And it's kept going. And again, what's very, very striking, if you look at the great moment of modernity from the 18th through the 19th to the 20th century, in almost all European countries, even where there were representative institutions and whatever, as well as monarchies, the only way to change them was to break them and destroy them and have a revolution. What is striking in Britain is if you look at the campaign for the ballot, if you look at the campaign for democracy in the 19th century, beginning with the Chartists, even the Chartists, those vast demonstrations, Peterloo in Manchester and all the rest of it, they're not clamouring to destroy Parliament, they're clamouring for the vote for Parliament. They want to be part of the system, not to bring the system down. And so what happens in England, Britain is, remember, we're always first. So we have the first real revolution, the Puritan revolution of the middle of the 17th century. We're the first to put a king on trial and cut his head off publicly. The French takes them a couple of centuries to get round to it. But what we decide to do is we decide we don't like it. We reverse it. We have an unsuccessful reversal in 1660, and we have a very successful reversal in 1689, and you create this mysterious office of the Prime Minister, whose job is to do two things. He's a Janus face. He looks in one direction and then in another direction. On the one hand, he is the man who keeps the monarch under control for the majority in the House of Commons. But on the other hand, using royal patronage, he's the person who keeps the House of Commons under the control of the monarch. But he exercises the power of the monarch. So we've really got two monarchs. I mean, Liz, it's no accident, Liz Truss is really Elizabeth III. I mean, for the moment. Thank God Boris was a one-off, but there we are. So we create in Britain then this system of modernity through the progressive alteration of tradition. The other way of doing it is the French. You pull
Jacobins.
Everything down and destroy everything and start time afresh. And unfortunately, for example, in the 20th century, Russia has tried to do that. China is trying to do that. And the consequences are catastrophic. You see what's happening in Russia at the moment, of course. What Putin is trying to do is to reconnect to Tsarism. He's trying to restore tradition. But the worst aspects of tradition, the blind imperialism and savagery of the Tsarist Empire. Whereas we seem to have, on the whole, remember, again, people find this very difficult to understand, but government under law, the security of property, the freedom of speech, rather more than we have at present, what's the word I want? Not so much the rule of law, but the beginnings of serious representative government and eventually democracy all happen under monarchy. It's the paradox of Britain, and it seems to me that what we saw yesterday and over the previous few days is people perhaps beginning to grasp